My son called me yesterday. Mom, I'm getting married tomorrow. Oh, and I took all your money from the bank and sold your house. Bye. Then he hung up. I sat there for a second, then I started laughing so hard I almost fell off my chair. You see, my son Marcus had no idea what he'd just done. Before I tell you why I was laughing, please hit that like button and drop a comment and let me know what you think. Would you have done the same thing I did? Or would you have made a different choice? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Remember, you deserve respect. You deserve honesty. And you deserve to be treated with love, especially by your own family. Take care of yourselves out there. My name is Rose Mitchell. I'm 65 years old, and I've lived a pretty simple life here in a small town in Georgia. I worked as a school secretary for 40 years before I retired. My husband James passed away when our son Marcus was only 10 years old. After that, it was just me and Marcus against the world. I worked extra hours, took side jobs on weekends, did whatever I needed to do to give my boy a good life. Marcus grew up to be smart and handsome. He went to college, got a job at a big company in the city, and I was so proud of him. But somewhere along the way, something changed. He started caring more about money and fancy things than about family. Still, he was my son, my only child, so I always gave him whatever he needed. About 4 months ago, Marcus came to visit me. He brought his girlfriend Jessica with him. She was 28 years old, wore expensive clothes, and had this way of looking at everything in my house like she was putting a price tag on it. They sat in my living room drinking the tea I made, and Jessica kept asking questions about my house. Rose, this neighborhood has gotten so expensive. Houses here sell for a lot of money now, don't they? She said with a fake sweet smile. I just nodded and changed the subject. But I noticed Marcus looking at Jessica with this strange expression, like they were sharing a secret. A week after that visit, Marcus called me. Mom, I need to help you with your bills. You're getting older, and I don't want you to forget to pay something important. He sounded so caring, so thoughtful. Just give me your bank information so I can set everything up for you online. I felt a little worried, but he was my son. I had raised him by myself, given him everything I had. Surely I could trust him with this. So I gave him what he asked for. That was my first mistake. 2 months went by, and everything seemed normal. Marcus called me every Sunday like always. We talked about his work, his life in the city, his plans with Jessica. He never mentioned money or my house again. Then one Saturday morning I woke up early like I always do. I made my coffee and sat down at my kitchen table to check my bank accounts on my old laptop. I like to do this every weekend just to make sure everything was okay. But when the page loaded, my heart stopped. My savings account showed only $47. It should have shown $89,000. That was money I had saved for 30 years. Money from selling James's old truck. Money from working those extra jobs. Money I had put away bit by bit, year after year. My checking account was empty except for $12. All of it was gone. I clicked on the transaction history with shaking hands. Every penny had been transferred to an account with Marcus's name on it. The transfers had happened over the past 2 weeks, a little bit at a time so I wouldn't notice right away. I sat there staring at the screen for a long time. I felt sick to my stomach. How could Marcus do this to me? I was his mother. I had given up everything for him. I called the bank immediately. The lady who answered was very nice. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm looking at your account now. Yes, all these transfers were approved through your online banking. They went to Marcus Mitchell's account. Is that your son? Her voice was gentle, like she felt sorry for me. Yes, I whispered. That's my son. Would you like to report this as fraud? She asked. I didn't know what to say, so I just hung up the phone. I sat in my kitchen for hours just thinking. I didn't cry. I was too shocked to cry. My own son had stolen from me. The boy I had raised alone, the child I had worked myself to exhaustion for, had taken everything I had saved for my future. Finally, I decided to check on my house papers. I keep all my important documents in a metal box under my bed. I pulled it out and opened it, my hands still shaking. Inside were the papers for my house, my marriage certificate, and James's death certificate. But something was wrong. There was a letter in the box that I had never seen before. It was from a real estate company, congratulating the new owners on their purchase of my home. My home. The address was right there in black and white. The sale had been completed 3 days ago. According to this letter, I had 45 days to move out. I felt dizzy, like the room was spinning. Marcus had somehow sold my house without even telling me. How was that possible? I hadn't signed anything. I hadn't agreed to anything. Then I remembered. About 8 months ago, I had gotten really sick with the flu. I was in the hospital for almost a week with a bad fever. Marcus had visited me there every day. One day, he brought some papers with him. "Mom, these are just hospital forms," he had said. "They need your signature for insurance stuff." I was so sick, so tired, barely awake. I had signed whatever he put in front of me without really reading it. That's when he must have done it. Those weren't hospital forms. They were papers giving him control over my money and my house. My phone rang early the next morning. It was Marcus. I stared at his name on my phone screen for a long time before I answered. "Hey, Mom." His voice was so happy, so excited. "Great news. Jessica and I are getting married tomorrow. We decided not to wait. We're having a big wedding at that fancy hotel downtown. Isn't that amazing?" My throat felt tight. "Marcus, what did you do with my money?" There was a pause. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh yeah, about that. I needed it for the wedding, Mom. And for our new life together. Don't worry, you'll be fine. You get your monthly check from the government, right? That's enough for an old person." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was my son talking. "And the house," I said quietly. "You sold my house." "Yeah, I sold it. Got a really good price too, $285,000. Jessica and I are using that money to buy a big apartment in the city. Look, Mom, I have to go. The wedding planner is calling. We'll send you pictures. Bye." He hung up before I could say anything else. I sat there holding my phone, feeling like my whole world had fallen apart. But then, slowly, something else started to happen inside me. Instead of sadness, I felt something cold and hard growing in my chest. And then I started to laugh. Quietly at first, then louder and louder until tears were running down my face. Marcus thought he was so smart. He thought he had tricked his old mother and gotten away with it. But Marcus had made one very, very big mistake. The house he sold wasn't the house I actually lived in. Let me explain. 15 years ago, when James died, he left me 2 houses. The first house was the one we had lived in together, the one I still live in now. That house was put into something called a family trust by James's lawyer. The trust was in James's mother's name, not mine. It's worth about $520,000 now. But Marcus didn't know it existed because it wasn't in my name. The second house was a smaller house on Maple Street that James had bought as an investment property. I rented that house out to a nice family called the Washingtons. They had been living there for 5 years and still had over a year left on their rental agreement. That rental house on Maple Street was in my name because of tax reasons. And that was the house Marcus had just sold. He thought it was my only house, the one I lived in. He had no idea about the trust or the real house. So Marcus had just sold a house that had people living in it with a legal contract. The Washingtons couldn't be kicked out. They had rights. And whoever bought that house from Marcus was going to be very, very angry when they found out. I laughed until my sides hurt. "Oh, Marcus. My foolish, greedy boy. What have you done?" After I stopped laughing, I sat down and made a list. I needed to think clearly about everything. First, I had lost $89,000 from my bank accounts. That was real money that was really gone, and it hurt. That money was supposed to take care of me as I got older. Second, the rental house had been sold illegally. The Washingtons still had 14 months left on their contract, and they couldn't be forced to leave. Third, Marcus had lied about having permission to do any of this. Those papers he made me sign in the hospital were fake or tricked out of me. I realized I had 2 choices. I could let Marcus get away with all of this, lose my money, lose my rental property, and just accept that my son was a thief. Or I could fight back. I'm 65 years old, but I'm not stupid, and I'm not helpless. I worked in a law office for 10 years before I became a school secretary. I know how the law works. I know about contracts and fraud and theft. And I know what Marcus did was serious crime. I decided I would give Marcus one chance. One chance to fix what he had done and make things right. If he refused, I would take him to court and let the law punish him. That night I called my old friend Dorothy. She used to work with me at the law office, and now she's a paralegal for a big lawyer in town. "Dorothy, I need help," I said, and then I told her everything. When I finished, there was a long silence. "Rose, honey, I'm so sorry. But you know what you have to do, right? You have to report this. What Marcus did is called fraud and theft. He could go to jail." "I know," I said. "But he's my son." "He stopped being your son when he stole from you," Dorothy said firmly. "Look, I'll talk to my boss. His name is Mr. Henderson. He's a good lawyer and he'll help you. Come to the office tomorrow morning." I went to see Mr. Henderson the next day. His office was in a tall building downtown. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. I told him my whole story while Dorothy sat next to me, holding my hand. When I finished, Mr. Henderson took off his glasses and cleaned them slowly. "Mrs. Mitchell, what your son did is very serious. He committed fraud by tricking you into signing papers. He committed theft by taking your money. And he committed real estate fraud by selling a property with tenants still living there. He could face 5 to 7 years in prison for all of this." "I don't want him to go to prison," I said, feeling tears in my eyes for the first time. "I just want my money back." Mr. Henderson nodded. "I understand. Here's what we'll do. We'll file police reports and start a legal case, but we won't push for criminal charges right away. We'll give Marcus a choice. Pay back every penny plus interest within 60 days, or face criminal prosecution. We'll also sue him for the house sale. The people who bought the house will probably sue him too when they find out about the Washingtons. What about the papers I signed in the hospital?" "Yes. We'll get those papers reviewed by an expert. If you were sick and didn't understand what you were signing, those papers aren't legal. Especially if Marcus lied about what they were." Over the next week, Mr. Henderson filed all the papers. The bank started a fraud investigation. The police opened a case. The title company that handled the house sale was notified. Everything was moving forward like a big machine that couldn't be stopped. And through all of this, Marcus had no idea. He was too busy planning his fancy wedding. I got a text message from him with a photo. It was him and Jessica standing in front of a huge wedding cake. "Wish you could be here, Mom," the message said. I didn't reply. The day after Marcus's wedding, 2 police officers showed up at his new apartment. He and Jessica had just gotten back from their one-night honeymoon at a resort nearby. The officers asked Marcus to come down to the station to answer some questions about financial fraud. Marcus called me an hour later. "Mom, what did you do? The police are asking about the money and the house. Tell them it was all okay. Tell them you gave me permission." His voice was panicked, angry. "Did I give you permission, Marcus?" I asked calmly. "You know I did. Those papers you signed." "You mean the papers you told me were hospital insurance forms? The ones you had me sign when I was sick with a 103-degree fever?" There was silence. "Marcus, you stole from me. You lied to me. You sold a house that had tenants living in it. And now you have to face what you did." "Mom, please. I'll lose everything. They're saying I could go to jail. Please, you have to help me." "I am helping you," I said. "I'm teaching you that actions have consequences. Mr. Henderson will be contacting you with an offer. You can pay back everything you took or you can go to court. Your choice." Hung up. My hands were shaking, but I felt strong. 3 days later, Marcus came to my house. My real house, the one he didn't even know I owned. He knocked on the door, and when I opened it, I barely recognized him. His face was pale and thin. He had dark circles under his eyes. He looked like he'd been crying. "Mom, please. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside and let him in. He stood in my living room looking around like he'd never seen it before. This isn't the house I sold," he said, confused. "No, Marcus. This house belonged to your father's family trust. You sold the rental house on Maple Street. The one with the Washington family living in it." His face went even more pale. "Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no. The people who bought that house are very angry," I continued. "They're suing you. The Washingtons are also suing you because you tried to sell their home out from under them. The bank has frozen your accounts. And the police are building a criminal case against you." Marcus fell to his knees. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to go like this." Jessica said she said you wouldn't mind. She said old people don't need that much money anyway. She said you'd be happy to help me start my life. Jessica said, I repeated. So this was her idea. She wanted a nice wedding. She wanted a nice apartment. Her friends all have rich husbands and she wanted that too. I just wanted to make her happy. By stealing from your mother. Marcus started crying. Real tears this time, not fake ones. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, Mom. I'll do anything. Just make this go away. Tell them it was a misunderstanding." "I'll make you an offer," I said, sitting down in my chair. "You have 60 days to pay back every penny you took from me. All $89,000, plus $6,000 in interest and fees. You also have to pay the Washington family $15,000 for the stress you caused them. And you have to settle with the people who bought the house. If you do all that, I'll ask Mr. Henderson to drop the criminal charges. That's $110,000 plus whatever the buyers want. I don't have that kind of money. Jessica and I spent it all on the wedding and the apartment deposit." "Then you'd better figure something out," I said coldly. "Because the alternative is 7 years in prison." Marcus left my house crying. I watched him drive away in his fancy new car that he'd bought with my money, and I didn't feel sorry for him at all. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus tried everything to get the money. He took out loans, borrowed from friends, even asked Jessica's parents for help. But it wasn't enough. He managed to get $35,000, but he needed more than triple that amount. Jessica's parents refused to help. They said Marcus had lied to them about where he got his money, and they wanted nothing to do with him. Then Jessica left him. I found out through a Facebook post where she wrote, "Sometimes you think you know someone, but they turn out to be a liar and a criminal. I'm filing for divorce and starting over. #betrayed #movingen." She had been married for less than 3 weeks. Marcus called me sobbing. "Mom, Jessica left me. My friends won't talk to me. I'm going to lose my job. The company found out about the police investigation, and they're going to fire me. Please help me. I'll pay you back slowly. Just tell the lawyer to give me more time." "How much time did you give me when you emptied my bank account?" "Yes. How much warning did you give me before you sold my house?" "I know I was wrong. I know. But I'm your son. Don't you love me anymore?" That question hit me like a punch. Did I still love him? He was my child, the baby I had held and raised and sacrificed for. But love doesn't mean letting someone hurt you over and over again. "Marcus, I love you. But I won't let you destroy me. You made choices, bad choices, and now you have to live with them." The deadline came. Marcus had only managed to gather $42,000. It wasn't enough. Mr. Henderson filed criminal charges. The prosecutor decided to move forward with the case. Marcus was arrested at his apartment 3 days later. The trial took 4 months to prepare. During that time I barely slept. People from my church asked me how I could do this to my own son. My cousin Ellen called me heartless. "He's your only child, Rose. How can you send him to prison?" But Dorothy and my other true friends supported me. "You're doing the right thing," Dorothy said. "If you let him get away with this, what message does that send? That he can hurt you and face no consequences." The trial was held in the county courthouse. I had to sit on the witness stand and tell my story to a room full of strangers. Marcus's lawyer tried to make me look like a confused old woman who didn't understand what she had agreed to. But Mr. Henderson had all the evidence. The bank records, the fake power of attorney papers, the testimony from the Washingtons, everything. The jury heard how Marcus had tricked me in the hospital, stolen my savings, and fraudulently sold property he didn't own. They heard how I had worked 2 jobs to raise him alone after his father died. They heard how I had given him everything, and how he had repaid me with theft and lies. Marcus took the stand and tried to defend himself, but he couldn't explain away the evidence. He claimed he thought I wanted to help him, but he couldn't explain why he never asked me directly. He claimed he thought the house was his inheritance, but he couldn't explain why he forged documents. The jury took only 3 hours to reach a decision. Guilty on all charges. The judge scheduled sentencing for 2 weeks later. Marcus was allowed to remain free on bail until then, but everyone knew he was going to prison. At the sentencing hearing, I was allowed to make a statement. I stood up in front of the courtroom and looked at my son. Marcus, I loved you more than anything in this world. I worked myself to exhaustion to give you a good life. I sacrificed my youth, my health, my dreams, all for you. And you repaid me by stealing from me and trying to make me homeless. You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. You chose money over your mother. You chose greed over love. And now you have to face the consequences of that choice. The judge gave Marcus 5 years in prison. He also ordered Marcus to pay back every penny he had stolen, plus damages and court costs. The total came to over $150,000. Marcus broke down crying when he heard the sentence. Jessica, who had shown up to the sentencing, got up and walked out without looking back. As the bailiff led Marcus away in handcuffs, he looked at me one last time. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said, his voice broken. "I'm so sorry." I nodded but said nothing. There was nothing left to say. After the trial, life slowly went back to normal for me. The Washington family sent me a thank you card for protecting their home. The buyers of the rental house eventually settled with Marcus's lawyer and got their money back from the title insurance company. I started a small support group at my church for older people who had been financially abused by family members. I was shocked to learn how common it was. So many parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles who had been stolen from by their own relatives. We met every Thursday evening and shared our stories. We cried together, supported each other, and reminded each other that protecting yourself isn't selfish. Dorothy helped me update all my legal documents and security measures so nothing like this could ever happen to me again. I changed all my passwords, set up alerts on my bank accounts, and made sure only my lawyer had any kind of legal authority over my affairs. 6 months after Marcus went to prison, I received a letter from him. I stared at the envelope for a long time before I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter on prison stationery. "Dear Mom, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, and I understand if you throw this letter away. But I wanted you to know that I've had a lot of time to think about what I did. Prison is hard. Really hard. I've been attacked twice, and I'm scared every day. But I deserve this. I know that now. What I did to you was evil. There's no other word for it. I stole from the person who loved me most. I lied to you. I tried to take your home. I thought I was smart, that I could get away with it, that you'd never fight back. I was wrong about everything." The letter continued. "Jessica served me with divorce papers last month. She's already dating someone else, someone with money. She never really loved me. She just loved what I could give her. I see that now. All the friends who I thought cared about me have disappeared. No one visits. No one writes except you. And I don't even know if you'll read this. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to visit or write back. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand what I lost. Not the money, not the fancy apartment, not Jessica. Lost you. The best mother anyone could ask for. And I threw you away for things that don't even matter. Sorry, Mom. I'll be sorry for the rest of my life." I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. A month later I wrote him back. Not a long letter, just a short note. Marcus, I received your letter. I'm glad you're finally understanding what you did. Prison is the consequence you earned, but I hope it's also the place where you become a better person. I don't know if we'll ever have a relationship again. The trust is broken, and trust takes years to rebuild. But I'm not writing you off forever. If you truly change, if you truly become someone different, maybe someday we can talk again. But that day is not today. Take care of yourself. Mom. I didn't hear back from him for a long time. But that was okay. I had my own life to live. I joined a watercolor painting class and discovered I had a talent for it. I traveled to Colorado to visit my old college roommate. I volunteered at the library and read stories to children every Tuesday morning. My life became full and rich in ways it had never been when I was worried about Marcus and his problems. People sometimes ask me if I regret pressing charges against my son. The answer is no. I don't regret it for a second. What I regret is that I raised a son who thought it was okay to steal from his mother. What I regret is that I didn't see the warning signs earlier, the selfishness, the entitlement, the lack of empathy. But I don't regret standing up for myself. I don't regret demanding justice. And I don't regret teaching Marcus that actions have consequences, even when those consequences are painful. 2 years after Marcus went to prison, I received another letter. This one was different. Mom, I've been approved for a work program here. I'm taking classes to get certified in bookkeeping. I'm also attending a therapy group for people who have hurt their families. The counselor says I have antisocial tendencies and narcissistic traits. Basically, I was selfish and didn't care about other people's feelings. I'm working on that. I know I have 3 more years here, and I'm not asking you to wait for me or forgive me. But I wanted you to know I'm trying to become someone different. Someone you might be proud of again someday. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're happy. You deserve to be happy. Love, Marcus. I wrote back again. This time my letter was a little longer. I told him about my painting class and the book club I had joined. I told him I was proud that he was working on himself. I told him that change is possible, but it takes time and effort. I didn't make any promises about our future relationship, but I left the door open just a crack. 3 years into Marcus's sentence, I got a call from the prison. Marcus had been stabbed by another inmate in a fight over a stolen food tray. He was in the hospital in critical condition. I drove 6 hours to the prison hospital. When I walked into his room, I barely recognized him. He was so thin, so pale, hooked up to tubes and machines. His eyes opened when I sat down beside his bed. Mom! His voice was weak, raspy. You came. Of course I came, I said, taking his hand. You're still my son. He started crying. I thought you hated me. I don't hate you, Marcus. I hate what you did. But I don't hate you. We sat together for hours while he recovered. We didn't talk much, but we didn't need to. Over the next few months, as Marcus healed, we slowly started to rebuild something. Not the old relationship that was gone forever, but maybe something new, something more honest. Marcus served his full 5 years. When he was released, he moved into a halfway house in a different city. He got a job as a bookkeeper for a small business. He called me once a week, never asking for money, never making demands. Just checking in, telling me about his life, asking about mine. I visited him once, 6 months after he got out. We met at a diner. He looked older, more tired, but also somehow more real than he had before. Mom, I know I can never make up for what I did, he said over coffee. I know I can never give you back those years of peace I stole. But I'm trying to be better. Every day I'm trying. That's all I ever wanted, I said. For you to try. We're not close like we used to be. Maybe we never will be. But we're in contact, and that's something. He sends me cards on my birthday and Christmas. I send him cards too. Small steps. That's all we can do. Take small steps forward. Now, at 70 years old, I look back on everything that happened and I see it differently. Yes, Marcus hurt me terribly. Yes, he stole from me and betrayed me. But that experience also taught me things I needed to learn. It taught me that I'm stronger than I thought. It taught me that love without boundaries is harmful to everyone. It taught me that being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. Most importantly, it taught me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to let them face the consequences of their actions. If I had forgiven Marcus immediately, if I had dropped the charges and let him keep the money, what would that have taught him? That he could hurt people and get away with it. That his mother would always clean up his messes. That actions don't have consequences. Instead, he learned the hard way that they do. He learned that stealing destroys lives, including your own. He learned that the people who love you the most are the people you should never betray. Those were painful lessons, but they were necessary. So when people ask me if I regret pressing charges against my son, I tell them this story. I tell them about the phone call where he laughed about stealing my money. I tell them about the years of rebuilding trust. And I tell them that the hardest choices are often the right ones. Family is important. Love is important. But respect is important too. And you can't have love without respect. If someone treats you like you don't matter, even if that someone is your own child, you have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to demand better. You have the right to say, no more. I hope my story helps someone out there who's going through something similar. Maybe you have a child or family member who's taking advantage of you. Maybe you're afraid to stand up to them because they're family. Let me tell you something. Real family doesn't steal from you. Real family doesn't lie to you. Real family doesn't try to make you homeless. And if someone does those things to you, they've broken the family bond, not you. Standing up to them, demanding justice, protecting yourself. That's not betrayal. That's survival. That's self-respect. And that's exactly what you deserve. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it travels far and helps people understand that being kind doesn't mean being weak. If you like this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to Granny's Voice for more real stories from real people. Drop a comment and let me know what you think. Would you have done the same thing I did? Or would you have made a different choice? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Remember, you deserve respect. You deserve honesty. And you deserve to be treated with love, especially by your own family. Take care of yourselves out there. This is Rose Mitchell, signing off.